Okay, we will continue. In the last meeting, we discussed literature review, right? So today I am going to continue on how to identify problems and how to formulate the problems. And based on that formulation, we hope to write a paragraph of problem statement. Yeah? Um, w- Bear in mind that problem statement cannot be long. Yeah. In your proposal, the most longest or the longest problem statement is 1 page. That is even too long. So maybe you can have like 1 or 2 paragraphs of a problem statement, 200, 400 words. 1 page is like 700 words. I think that is single spacing. So if it is double spacing, then it is lesser than that. So problem statement cannot be long. If you want to have more liberty in giving the background of the problem, you do that in introduction. So introduction can be up to maybe 2 or 3 pages depending on the problems that you are researching. But cannot also be like 5 to up to 10 pages lah, because there is not introduction. Introduction is mukadimah. So mukadimah cannot be that long, but say for example, if you need it, then it can be longer than the problem statement. Okay, the reason why we do literature review, and therefore you find that I remind you again and again and again that please do literature review, please read, because if you do not have enough reading, then you will not be able to identify the problems. And it's just like the life that we are experiencing every day. Um, if you want to understand certain phenomenon, you really have to gather more informations about the phenomenon. Then only you will be able to diagnose. Just like when you go to see the doctor, kan? You're sick, you see the doctor, and the doctor needs to know more about you, about what you have experienced, what did you eat, for example, what is your diet, how do you feel, where did you go, because why? Because the more information you get, the better you will, the better chances for you to identify the problem, yeah, and zoom into the root of the problem, and in the context of thesis writing, explain the problem. Actually, explaining the problem is very challenging, and if you are really if you really develop this research attitude in yourself, you will be able to diagnose many problems in human life. Yeah, because you will make it an attitude for you. Before you solve certain problems, yeah, you will try to gather as much as information possible, and you will be a very diligent person, very prudent and diligent. You entertain the details. You look for the details because those details are important for you to make, to identify, to zoom into the root of the problem. Most of us, we do not know the roots of the problems. We only address the symptoms of the problems. Say, for example, if the doctor do not really understand what your problem, your health problem is, then the doctor would say, oh, this is, simple fever lah. I give you antibiotic, I give you Panadol, paracetamol, and that's it. Uh, but that may not be your problem because the doctor did not, interrogate enough with the. So, you have situations where students had to see the doctor 2, 3 times, and then only the doctor will be able to figure out the real sickness. I mean, I have this experience also with students. One case lah, student, but I do not know what to say. She has been experiencing coughing but this is international student and she has communication problem. She could not speak English well, and I think maybe that's the reason why she failed to explain her problem to the doctor. So I was told by her friend that she went to the clinic for about more than 3 times, and that has taken her about maybe 2 months. She had coughing about 2 months, and then maybe because she didn't recover, she took some herbs. She's from certain country and she had bring some medicines from her country, herbs from her country. Yeah, I do not know. Maybe something is not right about her health condition, about the medication. So one day she died. Yeah? And when we brought her to the hospital, the doctor could not find what the what the real cause of her death, because it was not a heart attack or stroke. Yeah, everything was okay. So I happened to deal with the case, and even when they send the blood to the what do you call that, to the lab, also couldn't diagnose what the real cause of the death. But what I knew, she had been consistently went to the clinic to get to overcome a problem, coughing problem. But for if you have fever more than 3 days, if you have coughing more than 1 week, that is not normal. You should be very concerned about why, especially if doctor has given you antibiotics. So what you should do, you should go to the hospital, or if you have extra money, go to the private hospital so they can make proper diagnose. Because if you go to the public hospital, um, there are many patients. Maybe it will take you longer time to see the specialist. All right. So I'm going to that point. What I'm trying to explain to you is that we have to gather as much as information possible, so we are able to find to demarcate, differentiate between the symptom of the problem and the root of the problem. Once when we know the root of the problem, then we are able to explain the problem. So you do literature review in order to be able to get the problem. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
and um, when you have managed to get the real problem, the root of the problem that you want to tackle, then only you can develop the research questions and research objectives. Um, So, of course, when you develop the research question and the research objectives, you will have lists of research questions, lists of research objectives. In the practice of our kuliah, the research objectives would be the research questions, not should reflect the research questions should reflect the research objectives. For example, one of my research objective is to understand the meaning of religious pluralism, uh, the meaning of religious pluralism. So my research question would be, what is the meaning and what is the definition and meaning of religious pluralism? Okay. Or secondly, for example, okay, how does the philosophy, how does what is the development of religious? When was the development of religious pluralism? If that is the question, right? So the statement, to understand the historical development of religious pluralism. So when you write your proposal, you make sure that your research objective and research questions should reflect each other. All right. Of course, I said just now you have lists of research questions, for example. I normally would love to start with research questions instead of research objectives. Yeah? Because, when reading, I always prepare myself with a lot of questions. So, then when you list down the questions, then you will be able to um, to evaluate or to gauge which one among the questions that is more or that are more pertinent to your curiosity. That you want to know so much and you think you are able to solve those problems or those questions. So you are able to go to the root of the problem by selecting from the questions that you have listed down. Okay? And maybe you in the last semester, I remember students ask me, kan, what is the limit or how many words are needed to be able to prepare the problem statement. So, of course, technically speaking, as I mentioned to you, the committee say, well, for masters maybe 40, for PhD 100. But that is not necessarily lah, in my opinion. Even though at the department, especially my department, one of the committee members say 40. Yeah? For me, if you read 40 but you do not read the right literature, then you will not be able to find the problems well. Yeah, you will not be able to identify the right question. The best thing is actually to know what are the essential readings for that particular problem. So ideally speaking, the more you read, the better lah. Yeah. But maybe as guidelines, 40 as guidelines. Um, okay, you are able to formulate the problem when you think at certain point, you find that all the literatures that you are reading, the articles or books, reports that you are reading, like repetition, like, oh, you have read this, you have read that, you have read this, and that, so you know that, oh, okay, this is something very essential about this issue. If I were to share my experience with you when I was like you before. Don't think that I, immediately become a good researcher. So I was like you before. In 2001, when I defended my proposal, that was not the proposal defense. That was comprehensive exam. During my time, we did PhD and we have a comprehensive exam. We were given list of books and then we read, and then we have to go for oral examination. Yeah? So we go for comprehensive exam, right? Writing exam, and then we have to defend our examination paper lah. That is called comprehensive exam. So we have to defend, and I remember doing a lot of readings on religious pluralism in 2001. The first question that I was asked by the committee was a question that I I noticed that I've been very careless. Yeah, because when I read, I keep on finding that phrase again and again, but I fail to understand what is the importance of that phrase with regard to my research. Yeah? So what was that phrase? That phrase is in Latin. It sounds like extra ecclesiam nulla salus. Yeah? No salvation outside the church. So, when I read, I said, okay, this is something to do with the Christian doctrine. It does not bother me at all. I just want to know about this religious pluralism. Yeah? But then in the comprehensive exam, the examiner asked me, okay, Hasina, have you heard of extra ecclesiam universalis and what does it mean? So I said, well, I have heard of this. No salvation outside the church. That's it. But it does not give me the way I understand that doctrine is different from the way I read it before. So I was not able to answer rightly or properly. Just imagine the first question and I was not able to answer. And that was not even the question in the exam, you see, it was outside the examination. But then I know, okay, that's why I keep on meeting this phrase again and again when I read materials on religious pluralism, because it is very central to the issue of religious pluralism. Like, if someone write a thesis or research without mentioning extra ecclesia Abdullah Salus, it means that he was not able to appreciate the real problem of religious pluralism. So that was a message that I got when I started doing my proposal. I mean, just to tell you some of my little experience, the things that I encounter when I did my proposal. So, when you read and you find that, or you find certain author being mentioned again and again and again and again, and you know that you cannot skip that material, that book. You have to, by hook and by crook, find that book. For example, when I teach research methodology, I found that Creswell have been mentioned many times. So I look for Creswell work because I think it's very much referred to in research methodology. All right, so that's why the more you read, the better. And yes,
Yes.
yes, please carry on.
Research problem is the main problem of my life more than my humanity. Okay, ma'am. My question is that
Mm.
when we read 2 hours or 3 hours one article,
Mm-hmm.
after finishing the reading, I thought he is okay. He write everything is okay, but I didn't find any mistake or any gap or any problem. So how can I realize that where is the problem or which part should I more focus? Is
You mean you couldn't get the gist of the article? Is that what you are trying to say?
uh, okay, later I will send one article uh, that I read, but I didn't find any gaps or I
You
thought he's
didn't find
okay.
what?
I didn't find
You,
any gaps or problem statement. What is the problem?
oh, okay. You didn't
Uh,
find in that article any gaps.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
let me ask you. Do you think that the article didn't bring anything new?
Say for example, he also mentioned the inclusion, the social, the autistic people inclusion in the society. So
Okay.
he mentioned everything, how to we may involve them, how we
Uh-huh.
may behavior with them. So my
Okay.
area also behavior with disabled people. So his
Okay.
article I think is okay. So what should
Okay.
I find out from his
Oh,
article?
okay. All right. So, sometimes I agree that there are articles that didn't really contribute much to your understanding, or it has been repeating a number of phenomenon or number of certain items discussed by others. To tell you frankly, there are many articles that just repeat whatever the other author is writing, because today everybody has to write, kan? So they write for their merits, for their KPI, not so much because they want to educate people or they want to add to the body of knowledge. Yeah, I'm so sorry this happened. But what you can do when you have all this type of material with you, you can, especially when you are using APA, you can say, for example, you have two, three people talking about the same thing. So, for example, Aslina, Farid Shahran, and Azril. Okay, so Aslina 2019, Farid Sharan 2019, Azri 2019 agrees that
Yes.
so and so. So, indirectly you are telling the reader that you are able to make this statement after a very exhaustive reading of the literature. Like, you make this statement not on the basis of your understanding of single article, but actually more than one article. And that reinforce your statement, isn't it? Especially in social sciences, this is very important because, as I told you, social sciences appreciate articles that are written 5 years the latest. So if you can find literature written, say for example 2019, talking about the same time, huh? Yeah, yeah. So it means that the social scientists or the author have researched a great deal on that issue, and you have covered that in your future. So need not to worry. Actually, whatever material that you read, you do not have to feel like, oh, this is wasting a lot of my time and nothing new about this article. Yeah, but yeah, of course lah, you spend a lot of time, but you encounter a lot of people in that area of research. Hmm. Right?
Yes.
Especially in terms of references, very rich lah. My trick, what I will do normally, my trick after I've read, and then I'll start with my own draft of the issue kan, like whenever I write article, I will make my first very draft, and then I will start zooming into, okay, say for example this paragraph, I think I need more references for this. Maybe for that particular paragraph, I have only one reference, but I'm not happy, I'm not satisfied. Is there anything, any material that I can look for to further support? Or maybe there's still something that I need to add. So I will go to the journal and find, say for example, religious pluralism. Kan? So I will say, okay, now what about Abrahamic faith? Is Abrahamic faith is a form of religious pluralism because these people are talking about Abrahamic faith. Let me see who else talk about Abrahamic faith. So of course, when you discuss about religious pluralism, people do not speak about Abrahamic faith. I mean, it's a philosophy. But then I started to venture into, okay, who was the first person talking about Abrahamic faith? I found that, oh, it was F.E. Peter, a Christian, who start to talk about Abrahamic faith. And then I found Fazul Rahman also talk about Abrahamic faith, and Fazul Rahman rejected Abrahamic faith. Why he rejected Abrahamic faith? Because he thought that so and so. The Christians, want to, the Christians wanted to show that they are relevant, and that's why they landed into this idea of the Abrahamic faith. And then Fazul Rahman said, whereas this is unnecessary because Islam has already spoke about Prophet Ibrahim alaihi salam. Fazul Rahman said that even Prophet Muhammad SAW had already spoke about Ibrahim alaihi salam, and the Quran, most importantly, has spoke about Prophet Ibrahim alaihi salam. So Muslims do not need this idea of Abrahamic faith to be able to tolerate other religions. Yeah, but Christianity need this conception of Abrahamic faith because they have been very exclusive. Yeah, and then I started to find also, oh, okay, Faruqi also did, something talk about Abrahamic faith that was later than F.E. Peter. Yeah, so why Faruqi accepted this when Fazul Rahman did not accept this? Well, Faruqi accepted this because if you read Faruqi further, then you know that Faruqi were trying to convince Christianity and Judaism, most importantly, that their religion was actually, from the very beginning, the religion of Islam, but it was distorted. So I can, when I go back to my paragraph on religious pluralism, and, when I thought that is Abrahamic faith, religious pluralism, then I managed to add more. So, yeah, but it is by art also lah for you to be able to get to this what you call the ability, art of researching, yeah, of curiosity, and of course, if you read more, then you have more questions, lah, right? So, Brother Misbah, don't feel that you always in your time. If you read more and you find that nothing new but this article, I cannot benefit from this article, it actually reinforce your understanding. Say for example, 3 articles more or less the same je what they were saying, kan, they're referring to the same author. So you know that why they are referring to the same author, which means that this author must be very, very important, and you cannot skip this author. And you look at their references, oh, they refer from the same book, oh, you have to find the book. So that's a whole lot about literature review. Yeah?
Okay, sorry, ma'am.
Uh, uh,
Something like this.
okay,
Sorry.
okay.
Is it compulsory to bring all information from the same or under the same title? Say, for example, my
Mm-hmm.
title is Autistic People Rights and Behavior. So, is
Okay.
there any option to bring some information from another title, like how to teach the autistic children? So, may I take some information from the that sort of articles?
Okay, normally can we, of course at first we have, very crude title. Crude, which means it's not polished yet. Yeah. Like what I ask you people to do based on the literature that you are doing. But then you will have to, as I said just now, you will have to list questions, right? So when you list down the questions and able to develop the important questions that you want to answer, then you get back to the title. So you have to match the title with your research questions. Your research questions will help you to format the title, polish the title. So you don't do the title first. I
Okay.
mean your title will still need some cosmetic changes. Maybe you want to put something in front, you want to put something at the back. Maybe you want, if the issue is too broad, then maybe you want to narrow it down from
So
uh,
better I shouldn't mention the title, because if I mention title, it become a narrow. So just
yeah, yes, yes.
I cannot move here and there.
Yeah, yeah,
This is
yeah.
the problem.
Yeah, I mean the best thing is to make the attend the title after you have prepared the research objective and research questions. And
So
after you are quite clear about the SOP, statement of problem, then you know how to the title. Otherwise you will be so caught up. I mean, that's why you see, that's why we have the um, what we call as what abstract. I did not ask you to do abstract because I think to do abstract you need enough readings, and you need to have all this, and only you do abstract. We don't have enough time to do that exercise. But that's why when you send your paper to conferences
yes,
or when you send proposal, what they ask from you? Abstract.
abstract.
That's why doing research is all in abstraction first. Now you are still, in the stage of, abstract thinking. uh,
Because
but you have
we
to be very careful juga lah. Cannot be too abstract, like until you. Actually, there is a technique of writing an abstract. Hopefully, I can help later on to, after we are able to do this, we do what we important first, and we will try how to make an abstract out of your research proposal. Yeah. Okay, so now it's still at the level of abstraction. Yeah. All right. So did I answer your question just now?
yes, ma'am, got it. Bit, inshallah.
Okay. Uh, all right. So problem formulation including this lah, SOP, statement of problem, research questions, and if you are doing social study, empirical study, then you are expected to have to write a hypothesis lah. When you do field work, you need to do the hypothesis and test the hypothesis. Say for example, in my recent research, our hypothesis is that the young people in Kuala Lumpur are inclined to lost faith in religion, and this is because they do not have um, because they do not have proper education in Islamic studies. So that was our hypothesis, yeah, and we tested. It happened that our hypothesis was wrong. Okay, so what is problem statement? Can you see the slide? You can, yeah. So problem statement is a statement that describes the problem, the research problem. Yeah? Some researcher may include various research questions. Oh, okay. This is one technique when you have design your research questions and you export it to the problem statement. This is one technique. I don't like this technique because you will repeat yourself at the research question. So normally I will um, change that research questions into statement. Yeah? Say for example, what is the definition of religious pluralism? So in my problem statement, I would say that in general, people define religious pluralism as religious plurality. This research therefore would like to see if this understanding is in line with the philosophy of religious pluralism. So that is another way of saying this research therefore want to understand if people understand religious pluralism, what is the definition of religious pluralism? How does religious pluralism develop? I mean, you can do this, but I personally, I am not prefer that approach just because I think it repeating yourself. Yeah, but this is one of the techniques. Um, Okay, to complete a problem statement, it has to be formulated with at least one hypothesis for each research question to be tested. And especially this is, I said, for empirical research, but you may also allow for for library research, textual study. You don't really call that a hypothesis, yeah. But more of your thesis statement, no? Thesis statement, no? Your thesis statement, say for example, um, based on the researchers, based on the researchers study, it is found that many authors have resorted to religious plurality as the meaning of religious pluralism. Therefore, this study tries to examine if the meaning or the definition is rightly used or is appropriate to explain the meaning of religious pluralism. So my thesis statement just now was uh, the researcher found that many authors subscribe or resorted to religious plurality as defining the meaning of religious pluralism. So that is my thesis statement. Yeah, and I wanted to see if the use is right or wrong. So this is just like hypothesis, but it is for what you call that, for library research, um, library research or for not qualitative research, for library research, textual study, you call it thesis statement. Yes. Um, from the body, okay, you can also construct a problem statement by separating research question from the body of the problem statement. Um, okay, the basic lah. Normally, when you want to write research question, you will start with who, what, when, and how, right? You can also use this technique to develop your SOP, statement of problems. All these questions, of course, like I said just now, if you are doing research question, that has to be reflected in the research objective, and of course, the tips of asking who, what, when, and how are important to design your research question and thesis statement. Yeah? So let me go to the next slide. And bear in mind that when you, of course, when you design the questions, as I said just now, it is reflected in the research objective. Make sure that your research objectives, your research questions have these components. Yeah? Simple. Yeah? I mean, when you ask, the person who read your question or who read your objective will be able to understand your objective. I I would like also to tell you that in my PhD proposal, I was not very careful of this. So, we are very ambitious, right? And I was ambitious at that time as well. So, of course, I was very enthusiastic to know if religious pluralism is the phenomenon in Christianity. Yeah? Um, then yeah, maybe because also I mean no proper guidance, and the title was very new at that point of time. So my supervisor also did not indicate that, Asina, when you write about religious pluralism, you should be able to differentiate between Christian, between Protestant, Orthodox, and Catholic, because these three denominations are not the same, right? So when I wrote my research objective, I said I want to know the Christian's perspective. If you read my thesis, the title I published it, exploring religious pluralism, Muslim and Christian perspective. I shouldn't be, to tell you frankly, I shouldn't be doing the title like that, Christian and Muslim perspective, because responses, I think, because Christians are very divided. So I was, halfway down writing my thesis, and then suddenly a lecturer said to me, "So, which Christian are you talking about? The Orthodox, the Catholic?" Yeah. And he said, "Oh my goodness, how do I respond to this question?" And also said, "Well, if I were to divide, I mean, Alhamdulillah, I get some ideas lah. Said, if I were to reflect the Christians into three or divided them into, then I have to divide the Muslims into Sunni and Shi'i." I mean, Alhamdulillah, I got the answer how to respond to her. Otherwise, I'm died. I'm dead. I said, yeah, if I do that, then I will have to consider also what is the Shi'i perspective of my research. I said, I cannot be that specific lah, because Christians and Christians, there must be doctrines, tenets that are applicable to all Christians. I mean, even in the case of Muslim, there must be uh, tenets that applicable to the Shiites. So that's how I answer. But later on, I started to think, yeah, lah, I should consider this. I should consider this. So uh, most likely, if I were given the chance to redo, I would just do pluralist perspectives, uh, pluralist perspective among the Christians and the Muslims. So because pluralists, they are, even though they are Christians, even though they are Muslims, but that does not, their denomination does not affect the way they understand religious pluralism. So you see that pluralists, whether they are Protestants, whether they are Catholics, I didn't find among them the Orthodox. Um, it's very difficult to differentiate for me during that time. So I would say pluralist lah easier. Pluralist, Muslim and Christian pluralist perspectives. I'm safe lah. Yeah. But it's okay. But this is what I'm trying to say, that I got caught because that person think that my research questions is not measurable. It is not simple because Christians are uh, di- very diverse lah. Yeah. Okay, so this is one of my sharing. You will listen to my sharing. So, and achievable, to tell you frankly also, yeah, when in the middle of the writing, I found that, wow, Muslim perspective, there are many Muslims now, but which one among them that I should be focusing? Luckily, I managed to, to say that in the scope of my research. Yeah? I will focus on certain Muslim scholars. Yeah, maybe if I were given good chance, maybe I should write, John Hick and Al Faruqi. Yeah, comparing John Hick and Al Faruqi responses to religious pluralism. Then I will be able to go deeper into John Hick and Ismail Raji Al Faruqi. Yeah. So that's about it lah. To give you researchable. Alhamdulillah, in my case, even though it is too, abstract, big, and contestable lah by one of the lecturers. Gila, she didn't become my internal examiner. Because she said, Hasina, if your thesis reach me, you're dead. Alhamdulillah, she didn't become my examiner because she contested the title. But then I said, well, I cannot help because it was already in the middle of writing and my title has been endorsed by the committee, you see. So if she had problem with the title, she should bring the matter to the committee. But of course she couldn't do it because she has to respect the formalities lah. We have gone through several formalities, right? And it's a matter of opinion, it's a matter of. So alhamdulillah in my case pun researchable, testable because I know how to maneuver it, how to modify it, how to make it researchable. I said just now like many Muslims lah like Hussein Nasr lah, Muhammad Regenhausen lah. Alamak. I mean, is it Muslim responses? Why would I take Faruqi, Syed Hussein Nasr and Muhammad Regenhausen and not some other Muslim scholars like for example Osman Bakar because I figure out that Osman Bakar also had written a great deal. But then I said I said that in the scope of my research, yeah. And testable in terms of you are able to conduct research, on the issue. This is especially if you are conducting field work or even for example now I tell you, I am supervising a student writing on very classical work on mantik, on logic, yeah, which is not so much my specialization. Of course, I learn logic, I learn mantik. I learned that some time ago in Arabic, but I didn't read that particular figure, Taftazani, for example. So I said to the student, and this is undergraduate student of IIUM. If you are undergraduate student of IIUM, you know that you don't deal with classical sources, and you know your capability in Arabic language, right? If you're good in Arabic language, mashallah, by all means, go to the Turos, yeah, go to the Turos, especially for your masters, for your PhD. But my student wanted to learn Taftazani, and that materials are not many. I've mentioned him that, do you think you are able to understand? Because we do not have courses that make you familiar with classical texts, and he is writing on the issues of epistemology of logic, Islamic logic, classical logic, in Arabic, and there is no translation yet. uh, but then, inshallah, this is very confident. So basically, on the basis of that confidence, I said, okay, no, by all means. And he wanted me to be his supervisor, even though I said, I think maybe this particular lecturer can help you. Actually, at that point of time, I have a research on Kalam and comparative religion, right? So he said that, since you're doing on Kalam, so maybe. But Kalam is wide, but it's okay. I wanted to help him. Okay, he became my research assistant, but he didn't help me in my Kalam research. He is so busy with trying to understand the text. Yeah. So you see, even to understand the text, taking him a lot of time. What's more to test the information? So even the first layer to understand the text. Now he's already in the first extension. His proposal, alhamdulillah, approved earlier. Yeah, but he's still in the first extension and he still struggled in chapter 3. I feel so sorry for him because it's not something that I can help him. Yeah, because that is his research, and I told him that I have never encountered. If he said he wants to do on Al-Ibana, Al-Imam Al-Ash'ari, Al-Luma, mashallah, I can do it because I read those texts. Al-Ghazali, I can do because I read that text. But, okay, so you understand what I mean, Especially for masters, don't be too ambitious. Okay, and then hypothesis. Hypothesis is not theories. You know, when you talk about theories, then you talk about thesis. Yeah, I mentioned to you just now. The state of research and research are unresolved and need to be okay. Finding research gap. Okay, finding research gap. You need this, especially when you at the end of your literature review. I will show you after this one literature review, and I want to know if you can find research gap in that literature review. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, I will give you this exercise after this. Yeah. So your literature review should be able to help you to find the research gap. Where your research, where is it? Your research is filling in the gap or filling in the blank. There is still a blank, and you are filling in that blank. Yeah? So either the problems are not resolved or unresolved and need to be resolved. So there are still questions that need to be attended. Yeah? Uh, and okay, these are examples on how to formulate research problems. Okay. Finding research gap just now is the purpose of you doing literature review. Okay, so for example, this is one of the way research problem is formulated. Formulated. Maybe you will need to read this. Okay, let's take a look at it. I don't know if you can read it or not. Let me make it bigger. So this is about turnout in election. Yeah. So voter turnout in Region X has been decreasing steadily, over the past 10 years. So this is a problem. For about 10 years, the number of people voting going down and down and down. But this happened only in certain area. So in contrast to other areas of the country. So this is this is the problem. So there was a survey conducted. Yeah, survey conducted, and that survey discovered that the most lowest age bracket that did not come out to vote were the people who were under 25 years old and have low income. So at this region X, the steady uh, decreasing percentage of voter turnout came from 25 years old people and they have low income. Yeah, and the organization found that at other regions, yeah, some initiatives have been done to address the people of 25 years old and low income. Yeah. All right. And then when the recent elections taken place, yeah, and individuals who contested, campaign in that region, it is found that nothing helped. The decrease still continue to happen in region X, but not in the other regions, even though several steps have been done to tackle the issue. But why is it that people of 25 years old and have low income in region X did not change despite the remedial or the initiatives done by certain people to encourage them to come out voting. All right, so you see how this problems is explained. Yeah. First, this is the explanation. People 25 years old, they are, low income, poor. They didn't come out. vote despite initiatives done to encourage them to come to vote. Why is a problem? So this is a simple way of communicating the problem. Okay, now why? Okay, this is the gap that you want to explain. Why you are so interested to know about this? Yeah. So low voter turnout has been shown to have negative association with social cohesion and civic engagement, and is becoming an area of increasing concern in many European democracies. So you give some hints that one of the reason why this lower why this decreasing percentage is because problems of social cohesion. People were not close to each other, and there was civic engagement. People did not, people were not good at each other. Right? They were very individualistic, like in that sense. When specific groups of citizens lack political representation, they are likely to become more excluded over time, leading to an erosion of trust in democratic institution. So this is actually the real problem. When, say for example, these 25 years old, they are very young, you see, so they were not involved in, they did not take part in the election. They don't care who become the political representation, and you find that these people will be more exclusive and exclusive in the society. They will not get involved in the nation building. Yeah, they will not involved in the nation building. Now, addressing these problems, inshallah, I cannot see. Addressing these problems will have practical benefits for Region X and contribute to understanding of this widespread phenomenon. So basically, the problems that the researcher wanted to able to foresee is that if these young people do not join, do their role voting, yeah, they will not be able to uh, they don't care about who their political representative is. Yeah, I see they are very young. Just imagine if they continue to be like this until they are like 55, 60. So who will they care about their political representation? Yeah, will they care about their leader? Yeah, and you see, when we have problems with regard to the political representation does not represent the people, these people doesn't care about them. I mean, both of them do not care about each other. The citizens do not care about the political representative. The political representative even do not care. You find that exclusion, people living in exclusive. The politicians will be happily doing what they want because they will not be monitored, and then the society also will find that they care less about the nation. Yeah, and according to this person, it's very important. Yeah, this is one of the important thing for us to understand why this happened. Yeah, and why it keeps on increasing. So you see, there are a number of problems here, and this person rightly addressed in the research questions. But you will find also that there is one major problem that he wanted to understand, and when he is able to find the root of the problem, the major problems, he will be able to address the rest of the symptomatic problems. Symptomatic problems. So in terms of this person want to know how or why, what is this phenomenon, how this phenomenon takes place, and why it become widespread. Yeah. So by knowing that, he will be able to save the people from behaving as such, and save the country, the nation, from experiencing more serious problem in the future in terms of the nation building. When one group of people are no longer or living in isolation, are no longer participative in the democratic system. Of course, at the end of the day, this is not what democracy wants, right? Democracy, we take it very important, one man, one vote. So you as a in a democratic country, your voice is very important even though you think that you have only one voice. Yeah? How did I see this? Maybe in the recent class in religious pluralism class. Yeah, I call this guy who won the presidential election in America a Malay name, Biden. Biden, so I call him Biden. So even though his majority is not that much, yeah, a very slim majority, even though of course good number, but in democratic system, even though you exceed the other party by one vote, you're still the majority, isn't it? Say, for example, have 100% and then you won by one vote, 51. So the other party is 49. But you still win, right? This happened in Malaysia also. In the last election, you have like very tight, yeah, very tight. And then the so-called government of the day that time won this very, very not so comfortable majority, yeah, but this is democracy. So one voice is important. So that is actually explained by that problem statement or statement of problems that I have shared with you. So if you are able to write a statement of problem like this, mashallah, very, because very simple, but it gives a lot of meanings. And you know what? When I read this, I feel like, okay, very good lah. Very good. Yes, I mean, this problem statement is viable. Like when you go to see someone, say I have problems lah, and then the person say, okay, what is your problem? So you explain your problem, and the person say, I don't see that it's a problem, because to him, like, it's not a problem at all. Yeah. But if you are able to explain your problem well, like this, for example, okay, you have a valid problem. So let's see how we can solve this problem. So the one that I presented to you is like, valid problems. Let's see how we can, or how you are able to solve this problem. Right? So the research objective, so the aim of this research is to investigate effective engagement strategies to increase voter turnout in Region X. It will identify the most significant factors in non-voting through surveys and interview, and conduct experiments to measure the effectiveness of different strategies. I think some universities have different ways of explaining the research objectives. Like our university, our kuliah, we make these research questions very explicit, 1, 2, 3, 4. But some thesis, you'll find that the research objectives is given in a, what you call that, in a paragraph like this one. Yeah. So that is very much about the formats, the format. Yeah. So I think this one you can try to adapt yourself, adopt and adapt. In fact, this is what I asked you to do. Yeah, select a broad area of interest, a research topic. Yeah, and then you try to narrow it down. Yeah, maybe for example, in terms of cost of farming. So you want to talk about, your interest in that issues, yeah, and you want to find the sources, and then you think that, okay, maybe I should talk to the farmers themselves. So these are among the strategies that you are going to do to address this issue of cost of farming. Yeah? And then you start, once when you have the title, then you will start to do this. Yeah, try to formulate the question. So like, for example, now you see many questions can read abstract of literature for overview, make observations. So this is one good technique also shared by this graph, yeah, or this author proposed that if you cannot read the article, reading the abstract would be useful. And then, like I said, you have to narrow down. Once when you have the questions, kan, you narrow down, and you are able to explain the problems, ask the relevant questions that will help answer the problems that you have. So you start, at this stage, you start trimming the questions, trimming the questions. And then this author said, read several articles on the narrower focus. Now you can start what you call zooming into the articles. Note possible methodologies. This is also important. What methodologies are appropriate for that particular problems, for that particular questions. And then you start with problem statement. So this technique say maybe you can do several sentences that briefly frame the issues to be investigated, indicate the significance of the questions, and include a declaration of what you will do. Like just now kan, this the person said that okay, found that people regardless of the initiative, but the water turn out still reduce, still decrease. So the researcher is trying to investigate, trying to investigate what makes that happen in the region X. So incorporate readings to determine the working statement. As per program, you may need to modify this problem statement. Until your proposal is approved by the committee. Even when your research proposal is presented at the committee, you'll find that some of the committee will say, oh, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you, do this and that? So until then only you able to get proper research proposal. Therefore, I told you just now when the lecturer commented on my work, the title of my research, I can't do anything about it because it has been vetted by my supervisor, by the committee. So even though the lecturer thought the title is not researchable, is too wide, but this has been deliberated in different meetings, or sittings. So it means that if a number of people have looked at it, vetted it is still researchable, even though uh, one lecturer thought it is too wide, and to the extent that she said, you are dead, Haslina. Just imagine, how do you feel? At my stage, after halfway, I'm writing that. I went to see the lecturer actually to get her inputs on the title I'm writing because she's an expert of comparative religion. So I say, would you mind helping me, guiding me because very respectful, knowledgeable. So of course I want to learn from her. Later that I know that she will respond that to me that way. I know I will not see her. That's why when you are writing your thesis, can my sincere advice, work well with your supervisor. Try to make the things happen between you and supervisor. If you go and see other lecturers, you will add confusion because you are so much guided by the research problem, by the research questions. But if you see other lecturers, it may add confusion to you. I tell you one example. One student, she wrote about meta-religion, and then she got a supervisor. The supervisor wanted her to analyze some issues in Malaysia, local issues on the basis of that meta-religion. So, in the middle of doing that, she thought that, alamak, this meta-religion is very highly philosophical. She got a lot of problems in understanding it, and she thought that it's too big for her to analyze five local issues in Malaysia, interreligious issue, using that meta-religion standards. And then she came to see me. I got stuck also. I said, oh my goodness. I said, you cannot examine all these five interreligious issues. Those are very big issues. Like for example, the issues that she wanted to talk is about the use of kalimah Allah, the word Allah by the Christians, yeah, the translation of the Bible, freedom of religion and conversion among the Muslims, yeah, religious hatred. One more issue I couldn't remember. These five issues in Malaysia wanted to be examined by the principle of meta-religion. Five principles. I said, oh my goodness. I said, this cannot be. This is too big. I started to be very nervous. Yeah. And then she said, oh, how is this? How it is? I said, oh, no, you go and see your supervisor, talk to him. He will be able to advise you. So she went to see her supervisor and can we narrow down 3 issues, not 5 issues, even though in the proposal defense, the proposal mentioned clearly 5 issues. And then Alhamdulillah, the supervisor, pity her and then okay, we narrow down to 3 issues. And then she tried and she said, oh, the Tasina, how is it? Methodology very difficult. I think I cannot do all this part. Can I do? Oh, before that, she didn't come to see me. She knows how to, when I teach her how to talk to the supervisor, and then she said, I've managed to narrow down the to 3 issues. Now I want to narrow down the meta-religion principles. So she said to the supervisor, 5 principles I cannot do all. Can I narrow it down to 2 principles? And the supervisor said, okay, you can do 2 principles. So she came back to me, oh, very difficult lah, madam, even 2 principles. And I said, why you narrow down to 2 principles? You know that meta-religion cannot be divided into these 2 principles. You get your research hang. And then, oh, cannot, madam, cannot lah. Oh, she becomes so anxious also. I said, never mind lah, you try to make do whatever it is. So she had a very troublesome experience lah. But then the supervisor left the university, and when the supervisor left the university, she was sent to another supervisor. And that supervisor actually did not do research on meta-religion. And she didn't get proper supervision for 1 year. He was so stranded. And then one day, the former supervisor who is now at overseas called me, Hasina, what happened to this sister? Why isn't she progressing? Yes, I don't know. And then the former supervisor said, Hasina, can you contact her and try to see what happened to her? And then she was at the final year of her PhD, you see, 6 years. So the 6 years. So I said, what happened to your PhD? Said, I got so frustrated. I give up already. I said, please don't give up. Let me help you. What I can do to help you. And then I said, okay, let me bring this matter to the committee and convince the committee that I help you. Yeah. So Alhamdulillah, I managed to convince the committee that because she's a lecturer in one of the university, if she didn't finish her study, she will be fined. She will have to pay a lot amount of money. She didn't get doctorate, and most likely she will not be able to secure the job. Yeah. So I said, please, can we help this person because I know she has done something. Yeah. So Alhamdulillah, because she worked hard. Yeah, it's not because of me, because she worked hard, and we try. Alhamdulillah, she's now a doctor. Alhamdulillah. So inshallah, this is a part of my experience helping students, and don't be frustrated to quick and work well with your supervisor. Like in this case, the sister ni kan, she's very lucky because the former supervisor really take care of her and try to help her. We help. As long as you show your determination, of course lah, we help you. But if you're lazy, in my case, if my student is lazy, I will say unsatisfactory. You know that your supervisor can, when you fill in the form, research progress, your supervisor can put unsatisfactory. So there are two columns in satisfactory and unsatisfactory. So if your supervisor put unsatisfactory for 2 times, that registration of research uh, form, you can be terminated. The system will automatically terminate you. Yeah. And if you happen to be my supervisor, you don't play. So if I am not satisfied, you don't do your work well, didn't see me, didn't show me your progress, I will say unsatisfactory. Because why? We don't want to waste the students' time. You don't want to waste, I mean, if you cannot do it, don't waste your time. You can go start working. There are students who just play with the time. So don't do that because you are aging. Other people are already started their career. Why are you delaying? Why are you delaying your study? Okay? Okay, my dear students, when I did my masters and I did my PhD, I already married with children, have husband to take care, but I managed to do it. Why? Because you need to manage your time, you need to keep focus, you need to have very strong heart. I mean, don't be very, you have to be strong. Be strong. Inshallah. Yeah, the sooner you finish your study, the better. Because you can start your career. Yeah.
Yes.
So no extension. Don't take extension. As much as possible, do not take extension. From the very first, have this in mind. I want to graduate on time, 2 years.
Yes, ma'am. We don't have anything. That's why we become so lazy.
Nazrina. No, it's not lazy. I mean, I don't think it's lazy, but um, managing time lah. Manage time. Can. Of course, I sometimes also feel lazy. I tell you lah, there are times I feel lazy, but say for example, I know that, well, today I'm not doing that much, so the next day I double. That's it. I mean, you manage your time. I mean, being an academic, from the very beginning, you really need to manage your time. Otherwise, when you become lecturer, later on you become lazy lecturer. Your student will not be able to learn from you. True. Mm. Okay, so now
Yes,
can
Alhamdulillah, ma'am.
we
You're
do some?
really inspired your class. Then we got some emotion. Then after 2 days, it's gone.
Tak apalah. I can also understand lah because we are in a very relaxed period. No one care.
At least your class
No.
sometimes inspired us. This is
Okay,
our
my dear,
strength.
my dear students, just remember this. Yeah, inshallah, you are a master holder, you are a PhD holder, inshallah. Knowledge makes someone able to control himself. This is what the purpose of knowledge. You are able to control yourself. Yeah. So when you are able to control yourself, you can work with the least supervision. This is the highest level of position someone can earn when you can work with lowest supervision, that have you observe the integrity, you do your work well. Yeah. uh, Last time my daughter, when she was small, she came to my office and then she said, "Oh mama, you have a sofa in your room, you can sleep at any time you want." I said, "I can watch movie at any time I want, I can sleep at any time I want. No one is looking after me because I have a room on my own. Why do you think we are given a room of our own when you become a lecturer?" Because of that, because you can work with less supervision. So you have to prove it from now. The only person that's supervising you is your lecturer, your supervisor, no one else. Well, after you graduate, you have to work on your own. No one is checking on you. So who is the person checking on you? You yourself. Look, this is the best, I think, position in terms of job description. You do it because you know you have to do it. Of course, as Muslim, we do it for Allah. Idza amala amilan ayyuqinahu. We do it our best. You have to think about this because we are not just like anybody tau. We have masters, we have PhD. You cannot act like a person with degree in terms of your knowledge, in terms of your skill, in terms of your credibility, isn't it? Otherwise, why do you choose to do? Alright, okay, so I give you like 10 minutes to go through this. 10 minutes, I hope is enough lah, yeah? To go through this literature review, yeah, and then you we discuss. Can you give me, uh, some time to go to share the material with you? Yeah? You wait, eh?
Okay.
I want to modify a bit this. So. Hold on, yeah. I am uploading the item now. My computer is a bit slow. Why is it not open? Okay. Still not open. Maybe I should share the. Still not open. Maybe I should share in the WhatsApp group and you check on your WhatsApp group. Is that okay?
Yes, madam.
Alright. Oh, okay, now it is there. Okay, I will share in the WhatsApp group and it is already there. I need a new laptop. So I really need a new laptop. Cannot. Okay, now it is there. So now, oh, okay. Now I remember. I want to do something. I cannot share it yet. I have to do something about it. Okay. What should I do? Hey, so slow lah. I do not want to share the initial part of this sample because it will not serve the purpose of giving you the exercise. You see, I just want you to read the literature review and then you try to derive research questions, research objectives, yeah, from the work. This is what I want you to do actually. Okay, now it is here. See. Oh, I should save it. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm terribly sorry for the problems with my laptop. It is very slow. Okay, maybe I put it on the desktop. But this uh, laptop actually teach me how to be patient. Okay, now let me present it to you. Window. Okay, first have to open it. I will share in the WhatsApp group too, so you can have better view of now. Does it appear now?
Yes.
Okay. You wait that for a while until I manage to share this
Not yet, teacher.
article or
It did not
not
appear.
yet. Oh my goodness, why not yet? Oh yeah, I already shared. Okay, never mind. Now I'm sending to your WhatsApp.
Yes.
Now it appears.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
I'm
madam.
sending to your WhatsApp if
Yes.
you but not yeah, I'm not sure if you can read it very clearly. So I'll be reading on my desktop and oh, but I cannot see what your view is. Okay, so but you cannot see the whole text, can you? I need to scroll, then only you are able to read, isn't it?
Yes, madam. You need to scroll.
I need to scroll, right? I mean, we need to read together, isn't it? I want you to read. Okay, you can read at your own convenience. I mean, give you like 5 10 minutes. Is that enough? Then we want to find the research gap here. Can we do that together? Yeah, I think they are like pages. Can you read the text? Can it? Okay, I give you 5 to 10 minutes. Please read and then we will find the research gap. Okay. Oh, one page is missing. I noticed page 7. Or maybe I got so mixed up with 8, 9, 10, 11, 13. One page is missing, page 7. Let me share with you page 7. I should be doing this. Okay, I just sent page 7 to your WhatsApp because page 7 is missing. Hmm. All right. Are you done? Not yet, because I've read it before. Done. So, would you like to share anything? What you can get from your readings? So, okay. So, I need to get in this research. What this author wants to find? Okay, let's try to guess what the gaps are. Did you find any gaps? The most outstanding one would be he wanted to know what is fundamentalism, right? What fundamentalism means to Islam or in Islam. What do you think? You have to read 40 times.
Yes, madam. Finish it.
Have to read 40 times.
On
You know, when you do reading, you will get the skill. I mean, when you scan, like in my case, I scan, I can already understand, capture. So what I can sense, this guy want to know fundamentalism, right? So what actually popped to your mind when he speaks, when he uses the word fundamentalism? For me, why? For me, why he wanted to know about fundamentalism? Of course, the first is what fundamentalism according to him, and he wanted to see fundamentalism from Islamic perspective, how Muslims demonstrate it. Yeah? But why? I don't find the why is explained there. The only statement that he talks about the why is he wanted to compare Islam and Western. Did you find that? Did you find that Islam and Western? Okay, let me show you where I found this. Mm, I found this at the very beginning of his
Yes, madam. Page
literature review. Where is it?
6.
Kan? Right. Kan?
Yes, madam. I find page
between
page,
Islamic
page
and
number
Western.
Muslim fundamentalism from the viewpoint of Western and Islamic perspective.
The author different work. Okay, but in my any material that explain fundamentalism from Western perspective, did he explain that he has came across that literature? I didn't find any. Maybe I need to be very more, go detail. But I didn't find any Western works. The author exerts that Muslim in the 20th century. Okay, Muslims authors say that Western ideologies. But what are the Western works? I mean, the work discussed by the Western scholars defining fundamentalism.
What kind of Islamic fundamentalism?
Yeah, did you find the literature?
Page 10, madam.
Which one? Who?
Who
Who was the author? Wahidudin Khan is not Western. He's a
Oh.
Muslim.
Oh,
It's the Muslims. I mean, why are you referring to secondary sources when you are describing Western discourse? You should go to the Western discourse himself. Like, for example, what is his name? Is it Kenneth Craig who write about fundamentalism in Islam? Kenneth Craig or Kramer? Why? There is one specific author. Cannot recall his name. Fundamental, very famous, Robertson. He should refer to that work, because you see all these items that he is writing is all about Muslim scholars on fundamentalism. But where are the literature on
Still.
Western? Ada tak? There's no, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Islamic perspective only.
Yeah, isn't it? So the gap is not well explained. He identified that gap. I think what he needs to find, what he needs to stress in the literature review is the works that reflects Western discourse, that reflects interpretations on the so-called Muslim or Islamic fundamentalism. Yeah, what is this person's name? I cannot remember lah his name also. Famous work on fundamentalism. Fundamentalism. Amazon, maybe I should write Amazon. Cannot recall lah. It's not Peter Bryan. It's not Peter Bryan. Okay, alright. So that is what I can sense in this work. And then so he rightly, give some idea about the gap. He wanted to make a comparison, but his literature did not reflect that. What do you think? And also, he failed to justify the way I read his literature review. He just explained what this work tells, what this work is about, but he did not explain how these works help him to define fundamentalism. Actually, the most important statement that he needs to make, that from the perspective of Islam, fundamentalism refers to Muslims who practice the fundamentals of Islam. Unfortunately, or in comparison to the Western definition of fundamentalism, whereby the word fundamentalism means someone who is extreme. And why this definition, or why this term is used to explain that someone is extremist, because this is how fundamentalism is pictured or is reflected in Christianity. They have the extreme wing in Christianity, of which this wing is, or this group, it call themselves fundamentalist Christian. And these fundamentalist Christians
Yes.
were extremist Christians, and that has shaped the Western discourse on fundamentalism. If he mentioned that, definitely you will be very clear of why he needs to explain Islamic fundamentalism, why he can compare, why he should compare between Islamic fundamentalism and Western fundamentalism. I mean, in the first place, why he was so much interested in this research, because that is missing. Perhaps he thought there is not much discourse about the differences between Islamic fundamentalism
And
yes. Yes,
there is a
brother.
there is a difference between Islamic fundamentalism and the other community. So
Yeah,
that's why Matan Lotar Tehreek as a result of fundamentalism Christianity.
exactly. But did you find that in the literature? So you know what I feel about the literature? It is not exhaustive. The literature is not exhaustive, it's one-sided.
Yes.
It does not explain or it does not explain the readings that help him to explore the gap, because he said Western and Islamic fundamentalism.
Yes.
Yeah, and the gap is not mentioned properly. Like if I would say I
But
want to explain
there
Islamic
is a
fundamental.
mention few things, madam. I think so. There is a mention few things
Mm-hmm.
that's so in mention worldview and way of life, Islam. So it is
Mm-hmm.
explain the Islamic fundamentals means way of life and
Mm-hmm.
worldview.
Mm. But it's very implicit. It's not explicit. It's very implicit, which means that your reader will have to interpret it. If your reader manage to interpret it, it's okay lah. Just imagine if you are an examiner, how you feeling about this type of literature review? You will say, what is this person wanted to say actually? I mean, as an examiner, if I look at this, I say, what is actually this literature review is all about? What he wanted to say? Of course, I can, okay lah, I can sense this person want to say this. But you see, research should be very explicit uh, and and precise. Okay, my dear students, this is also what I learned when I write article. I mean, not when I write. In the exercise, in helping me to learn how to write academic work, especially in English, I can say only in English lah, yes, its own style. But English also has its own style. If you're writing in English, you have to be very straightforward, precise. So you don't use bombastic language. You don't speak behind the, you don't have too many underlines. You make the examiner try to interpret. So I get this experience, master's thesis, PhD thesis, and many times I sit down in front of my examiner and then he asked me, what do you mean by this? What do you mean by this? And then I said, okay, this is what I mean. You say it right. You think your examiner will be able to guess what you understand? So you say it straightforwardly because English academic writing is very straightforward. You don't speak behind the lines or you don't do statements that have underlines meaning. So this is one of the things that you need also to learn. I mean, in terms of the writing skill. The way I see it, this person who wrote this is someone coming from the US. So that's why I chose this way because I know he has, as US background. I have very high expectation. So it doesn't mean that when you are the native speaker, when you come from US or you come from European country, you're good. But it's how you explain the problems. But the way I see it, okay, to cut short the story, the way I see it, this is very biased literature review. It does not explain the gap very clearly. It's very implicit. The examiner will have to do a lot of guessing work. And then um, the literature is not exhaustive. The literature is not exhaustive. Yeah. So please don't do this to your thesis because you know what? When it's not colourful result, but when people look at your work later on, this is how I feel about my thesis as well. Yeah. So we try as much as possible because even in my case, I say like, oh, I regret it. I did not do like this. You will have that feeling. Of course, you cannot have that sense of perfection. Yeah? You have to have that sense of perfection. If you think that you are perfection, there is perfection. You are perfect, then there is problem also. Because we don't produce Quran. But we try to minimize. So we try to comply with the minimum requirement for how literature review should be. So you see, I have singled out some of the problems with this literature review. Yeah, but next class we will go back to this literature review, and we will try to extract problem statements, research problems, research questions from this literature review. Is that okay? So you have time to read? Yeah,
Yes,
you have
ma'am.
time to read, then we can discuss again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
Uh,
Ma'am, we
Okay.
have to submit this.
it's not my intention to find everybody. Come again?
Yeah, I gave you a
Come
question
again?
message chat box. Uh, I sent a
Okay.
message in chat box, but
Oh, you send them.
yeah, because I'm confused because like a question, I mean problem, like a problem number one, not getting a
Ah,
purpose. Number two, is it like
oh,
that or like a paragraph or with a footnote? That's some bit confused, ma'am. Sorry.
all right. Okay, Miss Ba, the reason I want to do the exercise, yeah, is because you will learn this hands-on. I cannot explain to you how research question is about without you doing it yourself. So that's why I am using this text so we can do the exercise together. I mean, doing research is like driving a car. I can give you the theories,
Because
but you need
sometimes, sometimes we are in the ocean.
so I don't want to give you theories and let you drive on your own. Yeah?
Yes,
We will
ma'am.
do the exercise
Yes,
together.
indeed, it will help us.
You,
So,
yeah, you do it together next class, inshallah. Yeah.
yeah, inshallah, inshallah.
So you have enough time, inshallah, to read. And
Yeah.
so
Uh,
while
If you made
reading,
mistake, inshallah, we'll get chance to resubmit.
exactly, of course. Uh, in fact, when you do this later on, you read and you try to draft from what you have read, research questions and research objectives, yeah, and statement of problem is possible. So we will compare with the actual thesis, yeah, whether what you find is also the same with this person. So you learn the experience of doing it hands-on.
Inshallah, inshallah.
Actually, for our course, we should have a lot of question and answer because I can carry on giving you lecture, but you, at the end of the day, do not benefit anything from it. Alright, now what I want to do, I want to go to your research title. So we can, I hope to highlight some of the issues with regard to the title as well as um, the routing. Routing. Goodness, I'm so sorry. I have to be very patient with my.
Yes, madam, I
Oh,
have to.
huh?
Madam,
Okay.
I have sent the potential topic, but you wrote too broad,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah. We
yeah,
will go. We will go one by one. Don't worry.
yeah,
We will go one by one, and we will
yes,
discuss together.
yes,
And I need help from members also
yeah,
to help to me, yeah, because maybe I have some limitation in terms of understanding what you want to
yes,
do, and then Karim, or the, or you don't do this, you don't do that, right? But so we can have, I mean, this is also hands-on kind of things, yeah. I want to go to the Zotero. So I check. So when I check your Zotero, I go to this DOI, and then it come out like this. Yes. So why I did this? I'm just checking. I'm just checking. Not that. Okay, this one is wrong citation. Why this one is wrong citation, Brother Karim? Because you need to download the article first. You need to download the article And then when I
I
download the
thought
article,
downloaded.
yes,
I
yes,
thought
Abdul
it was
Karim.
downloaded, so yeah, I thought it was downloaded, so
Oh.
I got it directly.
Tak apalah. You know, so what you do after this, I mean, you learn lah from this, right? So you know that you need to download the article and put the article on the Zotero, then only the Zotero can capture the data. But if the Zotero cannot capture the data, you need to do it manually. You know the
Manual.
problem, I have to do it manually because if I'm not mistaken, the title is all in capital letter as you can see here.
Yes.
Kan? Introduction to Messianic Judaism. So all the title in capital letters. So I have to correct it manually in the section, relevant section. And then I sync after that, I copy bibliography and then this is the outcome. So this is the right way of typing. Not only you, Abdul Karim, I think a number of students also got this wrong because they just download from either ResearchGate or Academia Edu, and that's why they couldn't get it. Yeah. So
Madam,
So,
yeah,
but you removed the fourth title in my titles. I wrote the five, the fifth one you removed it all.
I remove what?
My titles about my research.
Oh, oh no, here.
Yes, you removed the last.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. I will come to this point later. I'm checking on the Zotero first. Okay. Yes, just now a sister want to ask.
Madam, so it means that if the title is written all capital, we need to change it to okay. Even though in the research it's written in all
Yeah, that has something to do with formatting. That has
ah
something to do with formatting because if you don't correct it when you submit for thesis examination, my office will reject because it has problem. Why you are not standardizing? Some
okay.
use capital letter, some use small letter. Cannot be like that. It has to standardize. If
Mm.
capital, or but no, I mean no one people cited references with capital letter. I mean that maybe because when the person working with the library, actually it is librarian who digitize everything. So when he put it in, he put capital letter, and that's why it is the data captured as capital letter. So he type properly, then you will get the proper title lah. Alright, Abdul Karim. Yes, Abdul Karim.
Yes.
Shall we go to the title? Um, okay, for example, the first title too, I did not make any corrections lah. So just I put but then you have to think about the methodology later on, especially. And for in the title, whenever you want to do on certain institution, you have to put the name in longer name lah. Cannot be like this.
I said that I have only 15 words for the title, so I put the
Ah.
shortened. Can
Okay, good. I think you have for the title, you have to put in full. But later on, throughout the text, then you can put the abbreviation, but that have to be shown, abbreviation page. So you put lah. So for example, like if someone from Indonesia, normally if they say Majlis Agama Islam Malaysia or Singapore MUIS lah. Okay, macam Majlis Agama Islam, so MUI for example. But in the title have to reflect. Yeah. So Malaysia as a paradigm to religious harmony in Islam. I said need to modify, right?
yes.
Or this is the influence of belief in Messiah on Malaysia as a paradigm to religious harmony in Islamism pun I think you will have to polish or narrow this down because well actually not that harmony lah.
Mm.
Maybe you don't look at us as paradigm. Maybe you can say, the relationship between Muslims and the Hindus in Malaysia.
Mm.
A case study or example or critical analysis or something like that. Cannot take Malaysia as paradigm because we didn't make great impact. I don't know. I don't think Malaysia give uh, great impact. Because when you talk about paradigm, you talk about a shift that bring the matter to a totally different avenue altogether. For example, when we spoke about modernism, postmodernism, isn't it? We talk about globalization. This is paradigm because it bring a lot of impact and shift to the way people living, values. So paradigm is a very big jargon. The influence of belief in Messiah on the adherents' behavior, Judaism is an example. So I think also this need some corrections. Um, the doctrines of Messiah in Judaism and its impact on Jewish morality or Jewish characteristics, something like that. Yeah? If you want to write about number 5, the history of the Jewish community in Penang, Malaysia, and the issue of coexistence, a critical analysis,
Mm.
for example. Or if you want to say, the history of the Jewish community in Singapore and the
Yeah.
issue of coexistence, or on the relationship with the Muslims in Singapore, a critical analysis, something like that.
Thank you.
So I did not regard, these are all not, it's just a matter of how you narrow it down. And after this, I hope you can straight away decide what to write. Yeah? So basically, I can see what you are interested in, and I think you can carry on. Just a matter of how you narrow down the title. All right.
Alright.
So let's go to is Brother Abdullah here? Aficha is here?
Yes, madam.
Okay. All right. Uh, okay, let me share with you. We have enough time. Aficha. So I can see that you are looking into Buddhism in Thailand, right? That is in fact very good title because you know that the situation, the relationship between Buddhists and Muslims were not very good this 10 years time, right?
Yes.
You know what? The relationship between Buddhist extremists and Muslims is just like time bomb tau. Time bomb. I remembered my supervisor way back in 2000 in his lecture. You know what he said to us in class? My supervisor said that I don't understand why Muslims in Malaysia are so agitated, so sensitive about Christians because Christians in Malaysia are minority and they are very divided. You know that Christians have different churches and they're very secular in most of them are very secular oriented. And then he said uh, it's very difficult for them to do missionary in Malaysia because the federal constitution protected the Muslims. Yeah. Uh, and he said that we are supposed Muslims in Malaysia is supposed to look after the relationship with the Buddhists because the Buddhists is the second largest people in Malaysia, and in fact we have many Buddhist neighbor, Burma, Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, uh, China, Japan, Taiwan. Do you follow or not his argument? This he said in 2000. But why Muslims in Malaysia do not want to study Buddhism? Do not want to have or develop positive relationship with the Buddhists? Why were so dragged and disturbed with the Christians? We should look after good relationship with the Buddhists because they are the majority also in this region And what if one day Buddhists they found problems with Muslims? And you know what happened in Myanmar recently? I mean that, you know, when that happened, it immediately reminds of me of what my professor said in 2000 to us in class, which I found very true. So I strongly recommend that you write on this title, because extremism doesn't seem compatible to Buddhism at all, right? And Buddhism has always been pictured as a peaceful religion. So when they became extremists like that, it posed a lot of questions to many of us. So I would, you can look at my recommendations if you want to write. You can still polish this with your supervisor, don't worry. Yeah, I just give my very quick idea about how you can start a proposal. For example, number 3, kan, the concept of right intention in Buddhism and Islam, a comparative analysis. Then you will find that, well, what is the meaning of right intention in Theravada Buddhism, in Mahayana Buddhism, or maybe you want to explore Vajrayana Buddhism, yeah? And you want to also find where does Islam speak about right intention, yeah? And how this is developed in terms of doctrines lah in those two religions. So you have this right intention as the what do you call that? The eightfold path in Buddhism is very doctrinal in that sense. Yeah? In Islam, do we have that? In our, say for example, fundamentals like Arkanul Islam or Arkanul Iman, or maybe you find that in the Hadith. So you can compare from that perspective. And then you want to compare Islamic family law in Patani, Islamic family law in Islam. So maybe Islamic family law in Patani, a comparative analysis with the family law in Thai constitution, in the Thai constitution. Buddhist monk understanding on Islamic. Brother Abdullah, don't be so ambitious about the Buddhist understanding Islamic Sharia. Even Muslims do not understand.
Yes, yes.
We want them to understand our Sharia. We Muslims, we ourselves fail to understand. So maybe
Yes.
you can say perspective, understanding a perspective, the case of Buddhist monk in Thailand. So you
Yes.
don't want to check why they don't understand but you want to know the state of art.
I mean the Buddhist perspective. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
kan the case of
Don't understand. Yes.
cuma
Yeah.
tu lah when you even when you said the case of Buddhist monks in Thailand is very big. Maybe you want to refer to particular sangha. You know sangha, right?
Sangha mean.
Yes.
Sangha is the temple lah. Because
Okay.
Sangha is a very important institution in Buddhism. So of course different monks have different Sangha. So you have to go to the Sangha. Maybe I don't know where are you staying in Thailand?
Krabi.
Krabi.
Yes.
Wow, let's go to Krabi. We have friend there.
Welcome, welcome.
Welcome. I know Thailand people are very nice and very hot. Your hospitality is tip top. Okay, so Sangha, one of the Sangha or two of the Sanghas in Krabi. And obviously if you write this, it's a field work. You have to go to the Sangha, interview them, talk to them. No way that you're doing this library research. And then you have also this topic, drug rehabilitation. I think this is interesting title lah, brother. This is, mashallah, this is very, the title itself reflects the originality of your research. I strongly recommend this title. The role of religious therapy in drug rehab method in madrasah and Harul Ulum and Maisap Temple in Thailand, a comparative study. I give you full support for this title. Very beautiful title. Okay,
So,
and the same.
yes, there is the point. So I cannot find what the Buffalo Coffee, madam.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. So don't worry.
I
Your
I I
bibliography.
did the wrong way, or I did not complete something.
Oh, okay. First of all, you can do readings about what do you mean by religious therapy, what do you mean by drug rehabilitation, and then you have to introduce Madrasah Anharul Ulum. You have to introduce My Temple.
Okay.
So that will be the readings for your literature review, okay? And then you have to justify why you want to compare these rehab methods, religious therapy in Madrasah Al Ulum My Temple, because you know that the two are using it, and your literature should also explain who are in support of religious therapy in drug rehab. Is there any literature that support for religious therapy in drug rehab? I think in Malaysia we have plenty lah, because we know that for example in Malaysia we have pengasih, and they are adopting religious therapy in rehabilitating people with drug problems. But then you have to read in Malay, I think, because most of the writings are in Malay. Do you speak Malay? Abdullah, do you speak Malay? Do you read Malay?
Yes, yes. A
Great
little,
lah,
inshallah.
great lah, great. So you will find materials about religious therapy done
Yes.
either in Malaysia or the different parts of the world that will help you also.
Inshallah. I found also. I find the reference. So I found some madrasah. They are
Uh-huh.
using the religious therapy in
Uh-huh.
the madrasah where Selangor, or where, I think somewhere in Malaysia.
Good, good. Is there any articles that explain about this madrasah?
Uh, no, I
You know the madrasah,
yes,
but
I know, I know.
you need also to find if there are articles telling about the madrasah, so you reinforce uh, the reliability of this madrasah, because some other researchers have
Yes,
done a research on this madrasah. But I think you can find lah, because actually there are many works done on this rehab issues.
yes,
You'll find, if not that madrasah, then some other madrasahs or field work lah, definitely. I think this title is doable, even though it's quite challenging. I understand it's quite challenging to find the materials, but you can find it. Actually, again, to tell you frankly, if you're really enthusiastic, if you're really working hard for it, you should go to the last time I think USIM has this institute lah for the study of drugs. Uh, what you call that? It's not rehab lah, but study on these drugs problems. I don't know whether that institute, research institute or center of excellence is still around. Maybe you need also to get access to medical article, yeah, from science base. So find out, or maybe you need to ask if you're Malaysian, and maybe you need to go to the Malaysian what they call anti-narcotic agency, Malaysian anti-narcotic agency, because I believe they have some materials, maybe research, maybe reports, maybe thesis. I believe they will have that materials. They will,
inshallah.
but then you kena work harder.
Yes, yes,
The same goes with the Zotero thing, yeah, just like Abdul Karim. So I found this, they have cited wrongly below the rakyat peace bill in Manuelia, like you see. So not only Brother Abdul Karim, everybody else also have this flaw. Okay. All right.
but
I
but
cannot take time on your person on single person, because now it's already 7:22.
yes, madam. So I have a little question, madam.
Ah, ah.
Uh, how can we use the reference when, so for example, when I take some books from the other language that is not the related with English language, for example, Arabic language, Arabic books. So how can I put in the different in the bibliography or different
Or
as
put it,
reference?
if the title is Malay, put in Malay lah.
If Arabic, put in Arabic.
Yeah, put Arabic. Either you transliterated it, you know what transliterated it? Like for example, At-Tawheed fi al-Aqidah al-Islamiyah. Either you write the Arabic, or I would recommend for English thesis, you write AL, you know, hyphen TAWHID, and then transliterate the I. So you have standardized font. If you write in Arabic, you know what the problem that you will encounter, especially at the reference section, if you combine between Arabic text and Latin ke? I don't know what we use this Latin lah kan. Font, you will have like, oh, this one is left indented or justified indented, and the Arabic will be right indented. So your references will not be organized. Some is at the left, some at the right.
Okay.
They look so messy.
Okay.
It looks so messy at the footnote section. For me, I don't like it. I want my thesis to be very neat. So we don't like, we read, you know that because when we write Arabic, it is on the right? If write English, it's on the left. So, and then the problem is when you want to do formatting. When you want to do formatting, you have to follow a certain margin, right? So sometimes it happens that the word in Arabic, it is not rightly placed or arranged. Yeah, so maybe the second title goes the first title go to down. So you better not to combine the text. If you write I think the best is to transliterate them. Okay, for
Okay,
Hana
thank
for Hana Hazira.
Yes, madam.
What do you mean? Okay, for example, this one is number. Okay, study on Muslim believers theology. Do you mean? So I said a critical study on the doctrine of Muslim background believers. This Muslim background believers ni is an organisation, yeah.
It is one of the C5 Muslim background believers is someone that evangelized, categorized as Muslims that follow Jesus but still didn't claim them as a Christian.
Oh, so it is an organisation lah, right?
It is actually not an organization, but then they make this name as an organization, MBB conference. It's
So
just
they did not
global.
register the organisation lah, unregistered organisation, but they introduce themselves as such. Is that what you mean? How do you get this name then? You have to justify it.
Okay, there are a lot of articles from Christian evangelists like John C. Travis. They call the Muslims as MBB or Muslim background believers. From the C5. So they call the Muslims that follow Jesus, but didn't enter the Christian. So they call it as Muslim background believers. And I read this in a lot of articles. So I think that it is a well-known label.
Oh, okay. It's justifiable as long as you can justify that in your literature review, in the scope of research. Yes, you can. That's why you put this MBB and make it standardized in your article that you are calling this group, because otherwise you have to repeat lah Muslim background believers kan. So you put this MBB and then you justify in the literature review, in the research scope or scope of research. Yeah.
Madam. But I
Yes.
realized that there is a big problem when there is no Muslim commenting on these topics about the C5, C spectrum or the Muslim background believers. So is it possible to make a research on this?
You mean no Muslims have written about them?
Yeah, about if I write, so it will be less reference from Islamic perspective.
Hmm. Islamic perspective, maybe in terms of the critics,
Critique.
but but in terms of defining this group, then you can say that this group is defined by the Christian evangelists.
Okay.
So you get this name from the Christian themselves. It's more genuine, lah,
Mm.
because Muslims do not call these people. This is the Christians who give them the name.
Mm.
Uh, so put a critical analysis lah. Don't say from Islamic perspective. There's nothing Islamic about this group.
Okay.
Okay, a
I
study on
understood it wrongly.
so study is an Christ-centered community. This is the same lah. If you're choosing this, you can also put in their position. Oh, their position on the philosophy of religious pluralism. But this one you need you. I think even the previous one maybe you need to do fieldwork juga lah, interview. If
Okay.
you are not interviewing the MBB, the people, you interview Muslim Da'i.
Okay.
I don't know if Christians are willing to supply you with the information, but you can try. You can try. Can try. I bet they will not share with you what they
But
know.
I have read two theses on MBB by
Mm.
Christian evangelist. They wrote about us openly.
Okay. By the Christian evangelist in Malaysia?
In Malaysia has one
Mm.
evangelist. But Australia there are too many.
In Australia.
Yeah.
Malaysian don't dare lah to write this, especially Christian. But if that person dare
Yeah.
to write, if
They
that person dare to write, is very bold lah, berani sangat. Okay, and a study on contextualizing Islam. I mean, all these are very interesting. Except that I found that title number 5 ni is totally different from number 4 kan. So you have to decide lah which one you want to do. And the same goes to the Zotero. Yeah? So that's about it. I mean, the titles are fine with me. I think they're okay, except that the modification. And after this, you need to decide what to write.
So how can I choose the best title? Which means because it is all titles I think it is good lah to do research, but I don't know which one is the best. What is the method to choose? I
Oh,
don't know.
girl.
I got confused.
Listen to your heart lah. I don't want to dictate lah. I don't want to say, oh, this title is better, that title is better.
Okay.
At least for Brother Apichai just now, of all the title that he proposed, I think one is the best. In your case, all are of equally interesting. So you listen to your heart lah.
Okay then.
Alright. Okay, and then this one is Brother Hassan. Alamak, dah 7:30 lah. So, okay, if I will stop at Hassan.
Yes,
You
madam.
want to discuss with me personally about your title,
Yes.
just tell me the rest lah. With regard to the rest, I will stop at. I will discuss Hassan. This is going to be the last. And with regard to the remainings, if you want to discuss with me,
Yes.
text me what the time you want to discuss, and then we'll try to adjust, because like tomorrow morning I have meetings. But
Yes.
for example, tonight you want to discuss, I will be around until 10:30. Give me some time to read. Say for example, let me have my rest time from after class until 9, and after 9 I'll be around. If you want to discuss, then I can help. Alright, is Hassan,
Yes.
can you see the title now?
Yes.
Okay, Brother Hassan. Alright, okay, Brother Hassan, you give very broad title.
Yes,
Very broad
teacher. I
title.
think so. It is a
So
mistake
I
by
suggest that you,
I made a mistake. But yeah, I think
why?
it is too broad, and then other title is also
Yeah.
yes.
Yes. You see, for example, and item number 2 can we talk about financial trade-off between believer and
Yes.
unbeliever from Indian
Yes.
perspective. What is the issue in this type of transaction? Not clear.
Yes.
So you know what? I mean, this is critical time. You really need to find what you want to do.
Yeah.
So I suggest that you research on something related to online business, the right of buyer and seller from an Islamic transaction perspective. Because you
Yes.
know people do a lot of online business, kan?
Yes.
So I think most of us do not discuss about its legality, about the ethic. Maybe you want to discuss approach from legal perspective because
Yes.
normally when we do when we do akad, we have like the Malay we have like okay I buy this item and then the other person will say okay I'm selling this item. There is an akad, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But online business no akad, and then most of the time we pay and the items are yet to reach us. Yeah, so is
Yeah.
it something to do with buy on salam kan, things like that lah. So maybe you want either you want to a legalistic perspective or ethical perspective, because
Yes.
some maybe there is something legal about the online business but it's not ethical.
Yes.
So I think if you're still looking for, I would suggest you to do research on online business. You're from Cape also Fit, are you?
Yes. Yes. Yes, madam.
Okay lah. Alright.
Yeah.
Alright. In Malaysia, the government is trying to make everybody who do online business to
Yes.
register business. So if say for example the buyer are victimized, they will be able to be charged in the court. At the moment now cannot be charged. This commercial crime. I mean commercial legal legal legal
Yeah.
provisions lah. But at the
Yes.
moment we don't have because so and with regard to the of course if you couldn't find a title then you will not be able to develop the bibliography,
Yes.
right?
Yes, madam.
So and then also I found that you have problems in terms of using Zotero. So you need to learn properly how to use it. Some of
Yeah.
them are okay. Some of them are okay. Some of them, so I think you know how to use Zotero. Except that, and for some items you need to rightly cite it. For example, this one, what is the wrong finance theory interface 14 number 1? Okay, this is correct.
Yes.
Below is the right way. So what is wrong with your citation? There is nothing wrong with your citation.
Yes, madam. I realize that.
Because this Parks Online inform of this is not right. The blue
Yeah.
one.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So you need to read on online stuff if you
Yes.
want to.
I will do, madam.
Alright,
Inshallah.
so it's Maghrib is very short and Isha is very early now. So I'm so sorry I have taken your time, and for the rest, if you want, just message me after this, and then even tomorrow after Jum'ah I'll be around because in the morning I have 2 meetings, so
Yes.
I will not be around in the morning. But tonight and tomorrow after Jum'ah. And let me remind you that you have, after this, you have to submit research questions, research objective and statement of problem, right? So that's why I want you to find the right title to
Yes.
start off with that. Without the right title, you will not be able to come with RQ, RO and SOP.
Yes.
Alright. So, okay, I'll see you around inshallah next class, and see you inshallah those who want to see me after this. Have a nice sleep lah tonight. I don't know what to say. Take care everyone. Thank you very much. And Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi
Same to you,
wabarakatuh.
ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam.
Alright.
Thank you, madam.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum.
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you, madam.
কি জান্না কেন ওই যে আছে একজন থাকেন
আহো, বাতিজি।